The notification chimed at 11:47 p.m., just as I was toweling off the sweat from another brutal session at Rosie's gym. My wife Lauren's name glowed on the screen, but the message made my blood freeze. Staying at Craig's tonight. Don't wait up. Love you. I stared at those words until they burned into my retinas. Craig Doyle, the real estate mogul with his perfect teeth and Italian suits. The man who'd been circling our marriage like a vulture for months. My name is Evan Mitchell, and I'm an architect. I build things that last. I measure twice, cut once, and I believe in solid foundations. But apparently, my wife had been building something else entirely. I set the phone down on my kitchen counter, next to the stack of unpaid bills and Lauren's expensive skincare products. Our apartment felt different now. Cold, geometric, like one of my blueprints before the warmth of human habitation. Half-packed boxes lined the walls, remnants of our planned move to a bigger place. A move that suddenly made perfect sense. The rain hammered against our windows, each drop like a tiny accusation. Chicago's north side stretched out below, a maze of construction sites and luxury condos rising from the bones of working-class neighborhoods. My city, my profession had helped reshape it, one careful line at a time. Lauren had been working late more often recently. Her PR firm was expanding, she said. New clients, bigger accounts, longer hours. She'd started dressing differently too. Sharper suits, more expensive jewelry, perfume that cost more than my monthly gym membership. I opened our laptop and navigated to our joint checking account. The balance made me sit down hard. $12,000, gone. Last week, we'd had nearly $30,000 saved for the house down payment. I scrolled through the transactions, my architect's eye catching every detail. Transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. Cash withdrawals at ATMs across town. A hotel charge from last Tuesday, the Fairmont, downtown. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo from Lauren, her and Craig at some upscale restaurant, his arm draped possessively around her shoulders. She was wearing the emerald necklace I'd given her for our 5th anniversary. The caption read, "Working dinner with Craig. Big opportunities ahead." I laughed, but it came out like broken glass. Big opportunities, right. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. The rain soaked through my clothes as I walked the 6 blocks to Lauren's office building. Her BMW was still in the parking garage, 3rd level, space 47. Always the same spot. I'd installed a tracking app on her phone months ago, back when I thought she might be in danger working late in the city. Now I realized the only danger was to our marriage. The app showed her location, Craig Doyle's penthouse on Lakeshore Drive. I stood there in the garage, water dripping from my hair onto the concrete, and made a decision that would change everything. I pulled out an old phone I used for work sites, the kind with a good microphone for recording job notes. I slipped it under the driver's seat of Lauren's car, voice activation enabled. If my wife was going to destroy our marriage, I was going to document every word. The next morning, Lauren came home at 6:30 a.m., her hair perfectly styled despite her supposed emergency work session. She kissed my cheek like nothing had happened. "Sorry about last night, honey. Crisis with the Morrison account. You know how it is." I knew exactly how it was. "No problem," I said, handing her coffee in the mug I'd bought her in Cabo, the one that said "World's Best Wife." "How's Craig handling the pressure?" Her hand paused halfway to her lips. "Craig? The Morrison account. Isn't that his project?" "Oh, right. He's managing well. Very hands-on." I bet he was. That evening, I retrieved the phone from Lauren's car. 3 hours of recordings. Most of it was traffic noise and radio, but the last 20 minutes made me want to put my fist through the wall. Lauren's voice. "He suspects something. Evan's been asking questions." Craig's voice, smooth as expensive whiskey. "Let him ask. By next month we'll be in the Caymans, and he'll be wondering what hit him. What about the firm? My job? Baby, with the money from his company's land deal and what we've already moved offshore, you'll never need to work again, unless you want to work on your tan." Lauren laughed, a sound I hadn't heard in months. "Maya thinks I'm crazy for leaving him. Maya doesn't understand ambition. You do. That's what I love about you. Love." The word hung in my mind like a blade. I sat in my car outside our apartment building, rain drumming on the roof, and listened to my wife plan my destruction. They had insider information about my firm's upcoming project, a massive development on the south side worth millions. Information that could only have come from me, shared in pillow talk I'd thought was trust. My phone rang. Rosie's name on the screen. Evan, you sound like hell. Get down here. Rosie's gym occupied the bottom floor of a converted warehouse, all exposed brick and fluorescent lights. The smell of sweat and determination had soaked into the walls over 30 years. Rosa Jimenez had been my friend since college, back when we were both scraping by on ramen and determination. She's cheating, I said without preamble. Rosie didn't look surprised. She wrapped her hands, preparing for her evening workout. At 52, she could still drop men half her age. With the real estate pretty boy? You knew? I suspected. She's been different, expensive different. Rosie hit the heavy bag with a combination that would have hospitalized most people. Question is, what are you going to do about it? I told her about the money, the recordings, the offshore accounts. Rosie listened without judgment, the way she always had. You want revenge, she said finally. You play the long game, make them bleed where it hurts. I'm not a killer, Rosie. Who said anything about killing? There are worse things than death, Evan. Like public humiliation. Like losing everything you've worked for. Like watching your reputation crumble while everyone you know finds out what a fraud you really are. She was right. Craig Doyle's whole empire was built on image, the successful businessman, the philanthropist, the man who could close any deal. Lauren's career depended on managing other people's reputations. What would happen if their own reputations were destroyed? The next week, Lauren announced we were going to dinner with Craig and some potential investors. Networking, she called it. Important for both our careers. The restaurant was one of those places where the menu doesn't list prices and the waiters speak in hushed tones. Craig had reserved a private dining room overlooking the Chicago River. He stood when we arrived, all charm and expensive cologne. Evan, great to see you, buddy. The handshake lasted too long, his grip just a little too firm. Lauren glowed beside him, wearing a dress I'd never seen before. Probably cost more than my car payment. The other guests were Chicago's elite, developers, city council members, society wives who lunched for charity and gossiped for sport. I recognized several faces from the business pages. Craig dominated the conversation, regaling everyone with stories of his latest conquests. A hotel chain in Miami. Condos in Aspen. Always bigger, always better. The key, he said, cutting into his Wagyu beef, is knowing which way the wind blows before anyone else does. Information is everything in this business. His eyes met Lauren's across the table. She smiled. I excused myself to the men's room and made a detour past the coat check. Craig's jacket hung on a mahogany hanger, Armani label visible. I slipped a small recording device into the inside pocket, the same type I used for construction site meetings. When I returned, Craig was proposing a toast to new partnerships, he said, raising his glass, and to the beautiful people who make them possible. Everyone drank. I set my glass down untouched. Actually, I said, standing up, I'd like to make a toast too. Lauren's face went pale. Craig's smile faltered. To foundations, I began, my voice carrying across the quiet room. In my business, we spend a lot of time on foundations. Most people never see them, never think about them, but everything depends on them. A beautiful building on a rotten foundation will collapse eventually. It's not a matter of if, it's when. The room had gone completely silent. The trick is knowing when the foundation is compromised, when the people you trust have been eating away at the support structure, weakening everything you've built. When termites have been busy in the dark, Craig stood up, his face flushed. I think you've had enough to drink, Evan. Actually, I'm stone sober. For the first time in months, I'm seeing everything clearly. Lauren grabbed my arm. Evan, please. I shook her off. Some foundations can be repaired. Others need to be torn down completely and rebuilt from scratch. The question is, do you renovate, or do you start over? I walked out, leaving them to explain my behavior to their shocked guests. In the parking lot, I found Craig's Porsche parked under a streetlight. I pulled out my keys and dragged them along the driver's side, from headlight to taillight. The sound of metal on metal sang in the night air. A security camera would have caught it. But I'd noticed earlier that this particular camera was angled away from Craig's parking spot. Sloppy security for such an expensive restaurant. I was halfway home when my phone rang. Craig's number. You're going to pay for that, you pathetic piece of shit. Prove it was me. I don't need to prove anything. I know people in this city. People who can make your life very difficult. A funny thing about threats, Craig. They work both ways. I hung up and drove home through the rain. Lauren was waiting in our living room, still in her expensive dress, makeup streaked with tears. How could you humiliate me like that? Humiliate you? That's rich. Those were important people, Evan. My career, your career built on fucking Craig Doyle? She slapped me, hard. The sound echoed off our bare walls. Don't you dare. I know about the money, Lauren. I know about the offshore accounts. I know about the Morrison account information you gave him. Her face went through several expressions before settling on cold defiance. You don't know anything. I know you're planning to disappear to the Caymans once Craig closes the Southside deal. I know you think I'm too stupid to figure it out. Maybe you are too stupid. You certainly never paid attention to what I needed. What you needed, or what Craig could buy you. Craig understands ambition. He understands success. All you understand is your pathetic little blueprints and your working-class gym friends. The mask was finally off. Those pathetic blueprints paid for this apartment, for your car, for that dress you're wearing while you plan to rob me blind. I'm not robbing you of anything you ever deserved. She went to the bedroom and slammed the door. I heard her on the phone, voice muffled but urgent. The next morning, I found the legal papers on the kitchen counter. Separation agreement. Lauren was citing emotional cruelty and financial irresponsibility. I had to admire the audacity. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Pack your shit and get out. You have 48 hours. I forwarded the message to my lawyer, then started making calls of my own. Moving out was easier than I'd expected. Most of our furniture was Lauren's choice anyway. Cold, modern pieces that looked good in magazines, but felt like sitting on sculpture. I took my drafting table, my books, and the few things that actually mattered. Rosie let me set up a cot in her gym's back office. It wasn't much, but it was honest. No lies, no hidden agendas, just the smell of leather and sweat and the sound of people working to better themselves. You look like hell, she said, watching me hang my clothes in a metal locker. I feel worse. Good. Anger is useful. Channel it. She introduced me to Tommy Kowalski, a former Chicago PD detective who now worked private security. Tommy was built like a fire hydrant and had the kind of face that had seen everything twice. Your wife's playing in the big leagues, he said after I explained the situation. Craig Doyle's got connections all over the city. Judges, cops, city council. This isn't some simple divorce case. What do you need from me? Access to her car, her office, anywhere she might have left evidence, and money, good surveillance costs. I gave him what I had left in my personal account, $8,000 that Lauren hadn't found yet. Within a week, Tommy had results. Your wife's been busy, he said, spreading photos across Rosie's desk. 3 different banks, all with safety deposit boxes. She's been moving cash for months, not just weeks. The photos showed Lauren entering banks I'd never heard of, carrying briefcases, always alone. There's more. She's been meeting with Maya Castellanos. You know her? Lauren's best friend since college. Maid of honor at our wedding. What about her? Maya's got her own issues with Craig Doyle. Turns out he screwed her over on a charity fundraiser last year, lost her a lot of money and credibility. Tommy showed me more photos. Maya and Lauren in deep conversation at coffee shops. Maya looking angry. Lauren taking notes. I think your wife's being played, Evan. Maya's been feeding her advice on how to handle you, how to maximize her take in the divorce. But I think Maya's got her own agenda. What kind of agenda? The kind that ends with everyone getting screwed except Maya. That night, I broke into Lauren's car again. This time, I wasn't just planting bugs. I was looking for evidence. In the glove compartment, hidden behind insurance papers, I found a burner phone. The text history was a goldmine. Messages between Lauren and Craig, explicit and financial in equal measure. Photos I definitely didn't want to see. But more importantly, detailed plans for liquidating assets and transferring money offshore. And messages between Lauren and Maya that made my blood boil. Maya, remember, you deserve half of everything he's built. Don't let guilt make you settle for less. Lauren's suspicious. Last night he asked about the Morrison account. Maya, stick to the plan. Craig's lawyers will handle everything. By Christmas, you'll be free. What about you? Are you sure Craig will come through with the charity donation? Maya, Craig owes me. He'll pay up, or I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of man he really is. I photographed every message, every photo, every incriminating detail. Then I put the phone back exactly where I'd found it. The next phase required patience. Craig was hosting his annual charity gala in 2 weeks, a black tie affair that raised money for underprivileged children while letting Chicago's elite pat themselves on the back. The guest list read like a who's who of the city's power brokers. I'd attended twice before, back when Lauren and I were happy, or when I thought we were happy. This year, I wasn't invited, but Tommy had connections. Security company I used to work for is handling the event, he said. They need an extra guy for the night. Someone who knows how to blend in, keep his mouth shut. I don't exactly blend in with high society. You'd be surprised how invisible security is to rich people. They look right through you. While Tommy worked his contacts, I focused on Craig's business empire. Public records showed a web of shell companies and questionable investments. Nothing illegal, but plenty that would raise eyebrows if examined closely. I started making anonymous tips to investigative reporters. Small things at first. Questions about zoning variances, construction permits that seemed to move through City Hall unusually fast. Within days, Craig was fielding uncomfortable questions from the Tribune's business section. Lauren called me, furious. Did you tip off the press about Craig's projects? Why would I do that? Because you're petty and vindictive and you can't stand that I'm finally happy. Are you happy, Lauren? Really? Or are you just excited about the money? Go to hell, Evan. Already there. You put me here. She hung up. The pressure was working. Craig's investors were getting nervous. 2 major projects had been put on hold pending regulatory review. His stock price was dropping. But I wasn't done. The night before the gala, I met with Tommy one final time. Everything's in place, he said. Security credentials, access to the AV system, and this. He handed me a flash drive. Everything we've collected. Photos, financial records, text messages, the works. Plug this into their presentation system during the charity auction, and everyone in that room will see exactly what kind of people Craig and your wife really are. What about Maya? That's the beautiful part. Maya thinks she's playing everyone, but she doesn't know we're onto her. When this all comes out, she'll be exposed too. I stared at the flash drive. Such a small thing to hold so much destruction. You sure about this, Evan? Once you do this, there's no going back. These people will destroy you if they can. They already have. The Fairmont Hotel ballroom glittered like a jewel box. Chicago's elite mingled under crystal chandeliers, their laughter mixing with the soft jazz from the hired quartet. Champagne flowed, diamonds sparkled, and charity was discussed with the casual air of people for whom money was never a real concern. I stood against the back wall in my security uniform, practically invisible. Amazing how a cheap polyester jacket and an earpiece could make you disappear in plain sight. Lauren entered on Craig's arm, stunning in a silver gown that probably cost more than most people made in a month. She was glowing, animated, playing the perfect hostess to Craig's benefactor. Several people stopped to congratulate them on their partnership. Maya arrived 20 minutes later, elegant in black, working the room with practiced ease. She'd built her reputation managing charity events for the city's social elite. Tonight, she was in her element. I watched them through the evening, Lauren and Craig playing the power couple, Maya orchestrating the event's flow with subtle gestures and whispered instructions to the staff. They had no idea I was there. The charity auction began at 9 o'clock. Craig took the stage to thunderous applause, his smile bright enough to power the hotel. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight in support of Chicago's Children's Future Foundation. Together, we're building tomorrow, one child at a time. The crowd ate it up. Craig was in his element, charming and confident. Before we begin tonight's auction, I'd like to share a short presentation about the children we're helping. This was my moment. I slipped through the service corridor to the AV booth. The technician was young, probably working his way through college. I flashed my security badge. Need to check the system for any potential issues. VIP security protocols. He nodded and stepped aside. I plugged in Tommy's flash drive and made a few quick adjustments to the presentation cue. All clear, I said, patting him on the shoulder. Great work tonight. Back in the ballroom, Craig was building to his crescendo. And now, let me show you exactly who we're fighting for. The lights dimmed, the projection screen lit up. But instead of smiling children, the screen filled with text messages between Lauren and Craig. Craig, once we liquidate Evan's assets, we'll have enough to disappear permanently. Lauren, what about the charity money? Maya's expecting her cut. Maya can expect whatever she wants. She's not getting a dime once we're gone. The room went dead silent. Craig spun toward the screen, his face draining of color. The messages continued scrolling, each one more damning than the last. Financial details, offshore account numbers, explicit photos, and finally, the piece de resistance, A recorded phone conversation between Craig and a city planning official discussing bribes for zoning permits. Lauren tried to run, but the crowd had closed in around her. Maya stood frozen, her carefully constructed world crumbling in real time. "Turn it off!" Craig screamed at the AV booth. "Turn it off, now!" But there was more. Maya's messages appeared next, showing how she'd manipulated Lauren into the affair, fed her strategies for maximizing the divorce settlement, and planned to blackmail Craig with evidence of his illegal activities. Maya had been playing both sides, positioning herself to profit no matter how the situation resolved. But she hadn't counted on being exposed herself. The final slide was a financial breakdown, showing how the three of them had systematically stolen from the charity fund over the past 2 years, using it as their personal piggy bank while pretending to help disadvantaged children. The crowd erupted. Phones came out, recording everything. Chicago's social media was about to explode with the scandal of the decade. Craig tried to salvage the situation. "This is obviously fake. Someone has doctored these images." "Actually," I said, stepping out of the shadows and removing my security earpiece, "it's all real. Every message, every photo, every financial record." Lauren saw me and went white. "Evan, how did I get evidence of your crimes?" "Turns out when you're planning to destroy someone's life, you should make sure they can't hear you plotting." Maya finally found her voice. "You don't understand the situation. I understand perfectly. You convinced my wife to have an affair so you could blackmail her lover. You helped them steal from me, from the charity, from anyone stupid enough to trust you. The only thing I don't understand is how you thought you'd get away with it." The crowd was pressing closer, phones recording every word. I could see reporters in the mix, the Tribune's society columnist, a blogger who specialized in Chicago scandal, even a local TV news crew that had been covering the charity event. Craig made one last desperate play. "Security! This man is trespassing. He's mentally unstable." "Actually," said Detective Marvin Skiles, stepping through the crowd with his badge visible, "this man has provided evidence of multiple felonies. Craig Doyle, you're under arrest for fraud, bribery, and money laundering." Tommy had called in his old contacts. The police had been waiting for the evidence to go public. Lauren collapsed into a chair, her perfect composure finally shattered. Maya tried to slip away through the crowd but found her path blocked by more police officers. I stood in the center of the chaos, watching my wife's world burn down around her. 3 years of marriage, destroyed in 15 minutes of truth. Craig was led away in handcuffs, still protesting his innocence. Lauren and Maya followed, their evening gowns a stark contrast to the harsh reality of their situation. The crowd began to disperse, buzzing with excitement over the drama they'd witnessed. Tomorrow, this would be front-page news across Chicago. But I wasn't done yet. The construction site stretched along Lake Michigan like a concrete skeleton, half-finished towers reaching toward the storm clouds. Craig's latest project, luxury condos for the ultra-wealthy, built with money stolen from charity and honest investors. It was fitting that everything would end here. Lauren had made bail, but her world was collapsing. Her PR firm had fired her within hours of the gala scandal. Her friends were avoiding her calls. The media was camped outside her hotel, having discovered that our apartment was in foreclosure. She'd been calling me non-stop for 3 days. I finally agreed to meet her. The rain started as I walked through the construction site's main gate. The security guard recognized me. I'd consulted on the project's early phases, back when I thought Craig was just another client, instead of the man planning to destroy my life. Lauren was waiting by the unfinished fountain in what would have been the main courtyard. Even in crisis, she looked stunning. The expensive clothes were gone, replaced by jeans and a simple sweater, but she still carried herself like royalty. "Evan!" Her voice was small, broken. "Thank you for coming." "Don't thank me yet. I know you're angry." "Angry?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Lauren, angry is what I felt when you left your clothes on the bedroom floor. This goes way beyond angry. I never meant for it to go this far." "You never meant to get caught." She flinched. "That's not fair." "Fair? You stole our life savings. You helped Craig commit fraud. You were planning to disappear and leave me with nothing. And you want to talk about fair?" The rain was getting heavier, turning the construction site into a maze of puddles and mud. Maya convinced me. Don't you dare blame Maya for your choices. You're a grown woman, Lauren. You chose to cheat. You chose to steal. You chose to betray everything we built together. I was unhappy. So you decided to destroy me instead of just asking for a divorce? She started crying, mascara running down her cheeks. Once, that would have broken my heart. Now it just looked like another performance. I loved you, Evan. I still love you. No, you don't. You love what I represented. Security, stability, a foundation you could build your real life on. But you never loved me. That's not true. Prove it. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screen. Our joint account, the one she'd emptied for her escape fund. I recovered every penny you stole. The FBI seized Craig's offshore accounts. But the money you took from us, I moved it before they could freeze it. Her eyes widened. How did you? I'm smarter than you gave me credit for. Amazing what you can accomplish when you stop trusting people who want to destroy you. Where is it? Gone. What do you mean gone? I donated it. Every dollar you stole, plus interest. The Chicago Children's Future Foundation will actually help kids now, instead of funding your shopping sprees. She stared at me in shock. You can't do that. That's our money. Was our money, past tense. You forfeited any claim to it when you decided to commit fraud. The rain was coming down in sheets now, turning the construction site into a muddy wasteland. Lauren's hair was plastered to her head, her sweater soaked through. You've destroyed everything, she said quietly. I've revealed everything. There's a difference. My career, my reputation, my future. Your career was built on lies. Your reputation was fake. And your future was going to be built on stolen money. So what now? You've won. I'm ruined. Craig's in jail. Maya's facing federal charges. Are you happy? I considered the question. Was I happy? Not exactly. Satisfied? Getting there. I'm free, I said finally. For the first time in 3 years, I know exactly where I stand. And where is that? On solid ground. A car engine roared through the rain. Craig's Porsche, the one I'd keyed outside the restaurant, came sliding around the corner, tires struggling for grip on the wet pavement. He was out on bail too, apparently. And apparently not thinking clearly. The car skidded to a stop near the fountain. Craig got out, soaked within seconds, his perfect hair hanging in wet strings. You son of a bitch, he screamed at me. You destroyed everything. You destroyed yourself. I just provided the documentation. My company is finished. My investors are suing. The city revoked my permits. Actions have consequences. Novel concept, I know. He started toward me, fists clenched. I'd been hoping he'd try something stupid. Craig, don't, Lauren warned. But Craig was beyond reason. 3 days of watching his empire crumble had pushed him over the edge. He swung at me, a wild haymaker that telegraphed itself from Michigan Avenue. I sidestepped easily. Rosie's gym had taught me a few things about avoiding punches. Craig stumbled, off balance, and I helped him along with a push that sent him sprawling into the muddy fountain basin. You're not worth the assault charge, I told him as he struggled to get up. But if you come at me again, I'll make an exception. This isn't over, he snarled. Yeah, it is. I pulled out my phone and played a recording, Craig's voice, from our meeting 3 days earlier. I know people in this city. People who can make your life very difficult. Threatening a witness in a federal investigation, I said. That's another felony, Craig. Want to go for the hat trick? His face went pale. He looked at Lauren, then at me, then at the wreckage of his life. You think you've won, he said quietly. But you've lost everything too. Your wife, your marriage, your friends. My friends, I laughed. Craig, my real friends are the people who told me to fight back. The people who helped me expose your crimes. The people who stood by me when everyone else was choosing sides. You're alone. No, I'm selective. Craig climbed out of the fountain and stumbled back to his car. The engine started on the 3rd try, and he drove away into the storm, leaving Lauren and me alone in the ruins of his empire. So what happens now? She asked. Now you face the consequences of your choices. The FBI will want to make a deal, your testimony against Craig in exchange for reduced charges. Maya's already talking, trying to save herself. And us. There is no us, Lauren. There never really was. Just you, pretending to be someone you're not, and me, too blind to see it. I started walking toward the site exit. Evan, wait. I turned back. She looked small and lost in the rain, a far cry from the confident woman who'd planned to steal my life. I'm sorry, she said. For all of it. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I needed you to know. I believe you're sorry you got caught. That's not. I really am sorry. About everything. Maybe she was. Maybe somewhere under all the lies and greed and betrayal, There was still a piece of the woman I'd married. But it didn't matter anymore. Goodbye, Lauren. I walked away through the rain, leaving her standing in the ruins of Craig's dream and the wreckage of our marriage. 3 blocks away, Rosie was waiting in her truck, engine running. How'd it go? She asked as I climbed into the passenger seat. It's finished. Good, Tommy called. The FBI wants to meet with you tomorrow. Something about Craig's connections to City Hall. I nodded. There would be more testimony, more revelations, more consequences rippling outward from the night of the gala. But the hard part was over. You know what the best part is? I said as we drove through the storm toward the gym. What's that? I built something that lasted. Not a building, or a marriage, or a business relationship. I built justice, and that foundation is rock solid. Rosie smiled. You sound like yourself again. She was right. For the first time in years, I felt like Evan Mitchell, architect, friend, survivor. Not the victim of someone else's scheme, but the designer of my own future. The storm was passing, and I was still standing. 6 months later, Craig was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. Lauren received 3 years, suspended to 18 months with community service. Maya got 5 years and disbarment from managing any charitable organizations. I rebuilt my practice from the ground up, specializing in affordable housing and community projects. Real buildings for real people, funded with honest money. Sometimes I drive past the construction site where it all ended. Craig's project was seized by the federal government and converted into low-income housing. The fountain where he fell is now a playground where children laugh and play. I built that. Not the playground itself, but the foundation that made it possible. The foundation of truth, of justice, of consequences for actions. It's the best work I've ever done.